Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Bhunuchari Jamuna Tira Bhunuchari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Bododeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Guru Guru Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Guru Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So today we'll first reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, and after that we'll recite and discuss one sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm just sharing the screen. For Prabhupada Lilamrita. So everybody can see the screen now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. As always, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. As always, his Kirtana attracted musicians. Irving Halpern says, I make flutes and I play musical instruments. There are all kinds of different instruments that I make. When the Swami came, I went up and started playing, and he welcomed me. Whenever a new musician would join and play their first note, he would extend his arms. It would be as though he had stepped up to the podium and was going to lead the New York Philharmonic. I mean, there was this gesture that every musician knows. You just know when someone else wants you to play with them and feel good that you are playing with them. And this very basic kind of musician communication was there with him, and I related to it very quickly, and I was happy about it. Lone musicians were always loitering in different parts of the park, and when they heard they would play with Swami chanting and that they were welcome, they began to come by. And one by one, a saxophone player came just because there was such a strong rhythm section to play with. Others, like Arvind Halpern, saw it as something spiritual with good vibrations. As the musicians joined, more passerby were drawn into the Kirtana. Prabhupada had been singing both lead and chorus, and many who had joined now sang the lead part also, so that there was a constant chorus of chanting. During the afternoon, the crowd grew to more than 100, with a dozen musicians trying with their conga and bongo drums, bamboo flutes, metal flutes, mouth organs, wood and metal clackers, and tambourines and guitars to stay with Swami. Hare Krishna. So I'm just trying from this slow almost. Today we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 27 and verse 22. The heading of this canto, the creation of the fourth order, and the heading of this chapter, attack by Chandravega on the city of Puranjana, the character of Kalakanya. Sharing the screen. Okay. Mui sangrabhya vipulo madachapam sudushaham sthatu morhoshi noikatra madhyachna vimuko mune. Mui sangrabhya vipulo madachapam sudushaham sthatu morhoshi noikatra madhyachna vimuko mune. Mui sangrabhya vipulo madachapam sudushaham sthatu morhoshi noikatra madhyachna vimuko mune. If anybody wants to recite, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat, please continue.
Mai samrabha vipula matsya chapman sudashanam sthana maharshi noikatra matyachna vimukha mune. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Moi samrabhya vipulo modachapam sudu saham sthatum arhasi noikatra madhyachna vimukho mune. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? So, if there is none to recite, then
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
yes,
Dandavat
Mataji.
Pranam.
Yeah, please.
Mai samrabhya vipula madachapam sudushaham sthatum arhasi naikatra matyachana vimukho mune. Thank you, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Then we can go for the synonyms in that case. Can anyone read it, please?
I'll try.
Thank you, Prabhu. Please continue.
Synonym by Srila Prabhupada. Mai by unto me. Samrabhya, having become angry. Vipula, unlimited. Madat, out of illusion. Shapam, curse. Su, du, saham, unbearable. Sthatum arhasi, you may remain. Na, never. Ekatra, in one place. Mat, my. Yachna, request. Vimukha, having refused. Mune, O great sage. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. And anyone wants to read the translation, please?
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Narad continued, when I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely. Because I refused her request, she said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And anyone read the purport, please? Can anyone please read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Prabhu.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Narad Muni has a spiritual body. Therefore, old age, disease, birth, and death do not affect him. Narad is the most kind devotee of the Supreme Lord, and his only business is to travel all over the universe and preach God consciousness. In other words, his business is to make everyone a Vaishnava. Under the circumstances, there is ordinarily no need for him to stay in one place more than the time he requests to preach. Since by his free will he is already traveling all over the universe, the curse of Kalkanya is described as fortunate. Like Narad Muni, many other devotees of the Lord are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord in different places and in different universes. Such personalities are beyond the jurisdiction of material laws. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody. So, before that, I offer my Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Srinnatam Shapata Krishna Punno Savana Kirtana Hridhi Antasto Hi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Shurikshatam Nashto Prayesho Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Nashtavi Mantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Dadati Isha Padam Tekam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Nitam Tam Sajivam Swadvaitam Savadhutam Purijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shavana Lulita Sri Vishakamitasya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanto Radha Kanto Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Pariye Mancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Yevacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Hare Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Prabhupadanugami Sri Shubha Goswamine Sada Dainyashiri Shubhakaya Sarva Jiva Kripabde Guru Shiksha Sadacharo Palokaya Namastute Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshotarini Namo Mahapadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurateshe Namo Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangom Namhayate Girim Yat Kipatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Sri Guru Dinataranam Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome to this to you all in this morning class of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm not qualified, but I'm still doing this service as I have been instructed to undertake this service. As a matter of duty, I'm doing it. And it gives me an opportunity to purify myself. So in the beginning, I beg all the devotees here for your mercy to please bless me so that I can properly glorify the Supreme Lord Krishna. And in this chapter, and a brief background of this topic, in this chapter also, we continue to hear the advice given by Narad Muni to King Prachin Bodhisattva through the life of King Puranjana. We know that Puranjana here represents the material body of the king, and similarly it refers to all people who are engaged in material sense enjoyment. And we are all, they are all covered by the three modes of material nature, and they're all trying to enjoy through the process of sense gratification. But in this particular verse, of course, Narad Muni is telling us about an incident about himself and Kalo Kanya. The daughter, Kalo means time and Kanya means daughter, the daughter of formidable time, Kalo Kanya. Her name is Jora. Jora means old age. So she was seeking her husband at the time, as it is told in the previous verse. As we know that no one likes Jora or the old age, because old and invalid, who wants to be old and invalid? As a matter of, but it is inevitable at the same time for every one of us by the laws of material nature. So when Narad refused to do that, she was seeking her husband, and at that time, Narad Muni came to the earth from Brahmalok, and the daughter of time, Kalokanya Jora, approached him, was wandering, and as you know, Narad Muni is wandering all over the universe and preaching the glories of the Lord. And he met Narad Muni, and although Narad Muni was a Noshtik Brahmachari, in the previous verse it is told, and she became very lusty and proposed that Narad Muni accepts her. But Narad Muni declined her proposal, and she became very angry. And this is the present verse where she became very and cursed him. And what he cursed him, it said that Narad Muni would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. Now, so in this verse, what we see, it is practically the Prabhupada has told in the purport also, if we go back, and purport also Prabhupada says that the great sage Narad Muni has a spiritual body, therefore old age, disease, birth and death do not affect him, and he is the most kind devotee of the Supreme Lord, and his only business is to travel all over the universe and preach God consciousness. In other words, his business is to make everyone Vaishnava. So this is what is the duty Narad Muni has accepted as a part of glorifying the Lord. He preaches the glories of the Lord. And so today we'll discuss about Narad Muni, and particularly his life, his teachings, and his qualities, and what, as a devotee of the Lord, the preachers in ISKCON can learn from him, and what we should know about, what are the things he is preaching. So we should know that philosophy, and how it is beneficial for us if we take shelter, take lessons from Narad Muni. So first, we are talking about Narad Muni briefly, to the extent we know Narad Muni is a transcendent, in the Vedic in our Vedic literature, Narad Muni is a great mystic sage, and is a Noshtik Brahmachari, and he is living the order of celibacy without without the complication of a family life. And he is an emblem of devotional service, and is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And etymologically, I mean grammatically, the word Naro means of Narayan, and or Narayan or Lord Krishna, and Do means deliverer who delivers. So Narada etymologically or grammatically means the deliverer of the Lord, or the Lord's message. And incidentally, as Prabhupada has also mentioned in the purport, he has an eternal spiritual body. We'll tell why Narad Muni has got an eternal spiritual body. We'll try to say it later. And he, as a celestial space person, he can travel unrestrictedly, and he does it throughout the material, and so he can simultaneously go material world and spiritual world. And he has a bina, or an instrument, musical instrument that was given to him by the Supreme Lord. He sings joyfully the glories of the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute, in the Supreme Lord, it is mentioned in verse 26, and second line, or second part of it, that Lord Krishna says that Devorshinam Chanarad, of all the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. That means the demigods also worship Narada, who is considered a great devotee of the great devotee in this universe, and he is a representation of Krishna as a devotee. His bina that he has received from the Supreme Lord, the transcendental sound, was handed to him by Lord Sri Krishna, as in the Linga Purana it is mentioned there. The Bina is therefore identical with Krishna because he has received it. In the transcendental world, there is no difference between Krishna and his things. So the Bina that he has been given to Narad Muni by the Lord Sri Krishna, as given in the Ye Puran, we are told. Now, Ye Puran, here it is mentioned that Narad Muni is he is non-different from the Supreme Lord as far as the devotional service is concerned. So whenever there is chanting of the Lord, Krishna is there, Narad Muni is present. Is non-different that way. And in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and our Prabhupada has written a book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. In that book, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed that Narad Muni is as an avatar of the Shaktavesh category. That means he is not considered Supreme Personality of God himself. That means he is not Krishna, but he is directly empowered with all the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to carry out Lord's will. Just as we have seen Prithu Maharaj is a Shaktavesh avatar about the ruling or as a king, he is a Shaktavesh avatar of the Lord. And similarly, Narad Muni is a Shaktavesh avatar and is potent with the opulence of devotion. Moreover, he is a Mahajana. Mahajana means the great person. He is a great devotee of the Lord. and in Mahabharata, in Yudhishthira Maharaj has mentioned that we should follow the Mahabharata. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse, there is a very famous verse where it says that we should follow a Mahajana in our devotional service, because if we follow their path, we are not distracted. We will directly go to the Lord, because their path is infallible. Because in this regard, I will just read a sloka and then try to explain it. This sloka has been given in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhulila in two cases, in chapter 17, verse 186, and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhulila in chapter 25, verse 57. And this is the same verse, of course, and that is previously, as I have told you, Yudhishthira Maharaj has told in Mahabharata. So it is a quotation from Mahabharata, but in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is so important, so it is mentioned twice. It says, Tarko pratishta srutoyo vipinna nashao rishi yashamotam navinnam dharmasya tattam nihitam guhayam mahajano enogata shopanta. The last line is very important. Mahajano gata shopanta. While Tarko pratishta means by logical arguments, we cannot find the transcendental truth. Because why it is not possible? Can anyone please tell why Tarko pratishta is, why by arguments we cannot go to the Supreme Lord?
Everybody has their point of view.
Exactly, Prabhu. Very nice. You have very nicely pointed out. Yes, everybody has pointed. That means it is a product of mind, and mind is a material. Mind is a product of material nature. So everyone. So if I give an argument, a person intelligent to me, he will give another argument, and he will say what I have told. He will try to cancel it. In a similar way, what he has told, person intelligent, then he will bring out another argument. And in this way, by argument, we cannot reach the supreme. We cannot supreme truth, and we have to take resort to the Vedas or the Amalam from the sources that has come from the Lord. Now the problem is that Srutoyo Vivinna. Srutoyo Vivinna means the Vedas, a vast subject. It has dealt with various and diverse subjects. So it is very difficult for a person to understand what is there in the Vedas and to get to reach the exact conclusions of the Vedas. That's why it is in the next line. It is mentioned, Nashau Rishi Yashomatam Navinna. A rishi or a sage becomes great when he has got an opposite. Normally, what is the normal views? He has got a separate views, and that way he becomes great. Nashau Rishi Nashomatam, who has got a great view and he's different from others, he is considered as a great person. So people get confused when one tries to understand the Vedas by himself. But the next verse it is telling dharmasya tattva nihitam guhayam. That means the truth of the religious principles is hidden in the heart of the realized person or unadulterated devotees of the Lord. So they are the followers of the proper Vedic wisdom. And therefore, it is said, Mahajanoina Vathashvantha. Mahajan means they are called Mahajanas, and Narad Muni is one of the 12 Mahajanas. And so we must follow Narad Muni in his path of in our path of devotional service. If we follow what Narad Muni says us, we will be able to reach our destination without any difficulty or problem. Now, his teachings and Narada's teachings. Before that, first we say a few things and then we'll start trying to expand on Narada's life as well. Narad Muni recommends bhakti or the activities of the purified senses. Now, purified senses, as he says, the process by which, and he says that by this process of purified senses or purified activities of bhakti, we can cross over the ocean of birth and death or the source of all our miseries and can be promoted to the transcendental positions. Now, we are already thinking, feeling, and willing, but we have to change the subject matter from material to transcendent, or the Krishna, or we have to bring Krishna in the center of the activities. And under the guidance of the spiritual master, and then once we feel the ecstasy of that things, we will be able to enjoy our devotional service. And to give it a simple example on that, normally the nature of the soul is that when it is in a living body, a soul is in a body, it is a living body, and living body has got 6 changes that takes place. But in addition to that, one of the important feature of a living being is that he a living body cannot remain without any activities. So it will always try to do certain activities, and as a result, and it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, I think, yes, in chapter 3, verse 5, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that it is difficult to refrain from any activity. Nahi paschit karmapi jatu tishtati akarmakvi karyata hi avasho karma sarvapapiti jaygunai. That means anyone is helplessly acting under the nature of the material nature, and he is thinking, he is feeling, or he is willing something or doing something, always doing something. So in a material, because it is the nature of the soul that it forces us to act something, to do something. Now, but and in most people, or the person in material life or in the common life, in a day-to-day life, we see that they are all engaged in doing, in thinking something or planning something or working something to satisfy their senses. So Narad Muni is telling, or it is being advised by Narad Muni that we should change the subject matter from material thing to the transcendental. When we bring the Lord in the center, then it is the proper consciousness for us, because the consciousness we have got, is contaminated with material things, and as such, we are thinking that we are the material body. That is the greatest mistake, or the greatest mistake in our consciousness, that we are considering our existence as material. But Narad Muni is telling it is superfluous to a human being. And also, if we can remember that in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th chapter, in 7th verse, it is told that when we associate with the Lord, I think it is 7th verse, it is Yasha it says that when we associate with the Lord, immediately shok, moho, and bhoy, everything they are removed. Shok means lamentation, and bhoy means fear, and moho means illusion, and bhoy means fear that goes away when you connect with the Lord. Because the three things that happens to a mind, to the mind of a person, shok means for our past actions, that what we have done in the past, we cannot rectify them, but we always think of them and lament for that. The things which we cannot lament, we cannot rectify, we are thinking of it and feeling sorry. And moho means the presently what we are doing, what we are not in proper knowledge, so we are thinking the body is our existence, and we are accordingly working according to things, and we are getting involved in that activities, and we are feeling and we are working on that with the hope that we will be happy. But this happiness never comes. In future, we are trying to, and in the future, we are trying to protect ourselves, and that fear or that fear that in future we will be in problem, we are always in that. So these three things are the constant problem of material life. And the illusion is that most of the people think that because of not knowing the actual our constitutional position, we are working and we are thinking that by our endeavor, physically and with physically, or maybe with the help of other myself individually, or with the help of the members of my family, or with the members of the society, or the members or the country. So in other words, with the help of others and myself, we will be able to solve the problem of this present life and we will be happy. But it is never possible. And that which will not give us happiness, we are thinking that it will give happiness. And that is a material illusion. And that material illusion will go when we connect, when we find out our actual position with the Lord, our relationship with the Lord, and serve the Lord properly. That is what. So that is what that is what is biggest illusion. What will not be happy in this way, but we are thinking we will be able to do that. That is called Maya, or the illusion, that we can be happy by sense enjoyment, which will never be able to, will never be able to do. Now, the transcendental knowledge, as Narad Muni says, when we take the instruction, how we get the but the real happiness comes from transcendental knowledge. And transcendental knowledge comes from the Supreme Lord Krishna. So we must hear the instruction of, we must hear about the Lord, about his instruction from a person or a bona fide representative of the Lord. And as we know, the standard process is given in Bhagavad Gita 434, Tadviddhi Purnipathena Puriprashnena Shivoya Upadekshante Te Jnanam Geninas Tattvadoshya. With our, when we approach a self-realized person and we make proper sincere inquiry, and he imparts us that knowledge because he knows that knowledge, and he imparts it to us when he's satisfied that we are about our sincerity and about our intention to learn it. And when he is satisfied, we get his mercy, and in this way we can get it from him. And that is the path of happiness. And another thing is that what Narad Muni is stating, that to change the subject matter, it is not, it is when we are dealing with material things, we mix with material people, and in this way we try to become happy. But if that attachment that we have for material things, if that attachment is changed, it is not difficult. It is not possible for a person to get rid of the attachment, because attachment it's a human nature. It's a material thing. It will happen. It will remain. But the attachment has to be changed, redirected. That is Narad Muni is telling. He said one of these. his teachings, that it should be redirected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when it happens for a pure devotee or a sadhu, the doors of liberation get open. And since Lord is always seated in our heart, He hears what we are. He hears and gives and permits it according to our desire. And there is a verse on that which says that when our attachment is redirected to the Supreme Lord, to the sadhus, it becomes, or a saintly person, our transformation takes place in the heart. Prasangam ajaro pasam atmano kavayo vidu shayeva sadhu sukrito mokshadharam apabritam. It is given in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-20. That means every learned person, a knowledgeable person, knows that for the material things is a great entanglement of the spirit soul. Ajaro pasam, it is entangles. It's a very great entanglement. But Shoyevo sadhu sukrito, but when the same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotee, it opens up the door of liberation. So the same thing, attachment, when is a cause of attachment for the material thing, is a cause of bondage, and the same attachment, when applied to a devotee or a sadhu or a saintly person, it at once becomes the door of liberation. So attachment cannot be killed, but it has to be just change or transfer. And that is what a preacher or a preacher like Narad Muni tells us. And a preacher is in the service of the Lord. He is doing service for the, he is trying to give the Lord or the knowledge of the Lord to others. And in preaching, the Lord is very happy. It is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in verse 1869, I think. It's a Bhagavad Gita 1869, and it is mentioned that na chatasman manusheshu koschin me priyo kritam bhavita na chatasmadanya priyotara bhuvi. There is no servant in this world. Prabhupada has made this translation, more dear to me than he, nor there be one more dear. If one sincerely tries to his best to spread the Krishna consciousness by preaching the glories of the Lord, His supremacy, even if he is not perfectly educated, Prabhupada says, he becomes the dearmost servant of the Supreme Personality of God. So the Lord is very pleased when a person or a devotee preaches his message to others who are not aware of it. And one who has to perform this, a preacher. Now I am taking a few qualities of a preacher from the life of Narad Muni as well. Narad Muni in his personal life has experienced all these things. And let me briefly tell a bit about Narad Muni's life. We know why Narad Muni is giving us the how he is preaching, how he's got, and as we have told, Narad Muni has got a transcendental body, and we know in the creation, the material creation is at the instance of the Supreme Lord as Narayan. It is created, it is maintained, and it is destroyed. And when again it is recreated, again it is maintained, it is destroyed. So when it is created after in this change of condition, that Brahma then creates this material world and material universe, creates the material world for the sustenance of the, and Narayana sustains it. But when it is created after annihilation, that various sages like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and similarly Narad Muni also appeared. So and as the son of Brahma. But Narad Muni from his very beginning was very much desirous of singing the glories of the Lord, and he always sang and try to preach it and tries to do devotional service. When Brahma told him, and sorry, before that, because he was doing that, so Lord was very happy. Lord means Supreme Lord, was very happy, and Krishna gave him a transcendental Bina, and which is charged with transcendental sound vibration. So when he sings it, so he was very happy he was doing it. But as we know, in the beginning of creation, Brahma was very interested to increase the population. So he requested Narad Muni to get married and have children, and so that and to become father of many children. But Narad did not agree with that, and he politely replied that you will not be able to do that. And then it annoyed Brahma, and Brahma was very unhappy, and in an anger he tried, if you are because you are a fool, you only try to sing, and then better you become a Gandharva of the heaven. And so Narad Muni accordingly became a Gandharva, or the celestial singer in the celestial region. Gandharva is a celestial singer in the heaven. So when he was born as a Gandharva in the Sargaloka, his name was Upavarhan. His name was Upavarhan, and he became the leader of the Gandharvas. And he was very famous as a singer there, and his musical by his music he was able to satisfy everybody, and he has got a beautiful body, and so many women were around him. Beautiful women were because of his popularity. And as you know, in the material world that is a problem, and in the heaven also there is no there is no much difference, only in a smaller. It's a question of degree only. So Narad Muni one day is accompanied in a festival when the others he was a leader. So he was conducting a musical festival. At that time, all the demigods were present, and when all were doing very nicely, suddenly one of the raga or the tune or the melody was broken, because Narad got attracted by these sorts who were surrounding him. So because of that, the demigods became very angry, and they told this Upavarhan is not fit to be a demigod. So he cursed it, that you go back to the material world, to the world, and it became a lower class or Shudra. And after that, Narada in his next life became a son of a maidservant in the early planet. But as you know that Nehavi Kramanasti Praktavayana Vidyate Shalpamabhyasha Dharmasha Kayate Mahatavaya. But Narad Muni has done so much for the Supreme Lord. So the Lord was, whatever he has done in his previous life, that was told. So when he was born as a Dachiputra also, he has attraction for that Lord, and Lord gave him the opportunity to become a Narad Muni. How? When he was the son of a maidservant, and who has to serve who got the opportunity to serve the sadhus during a Chaturmasha period, 4 months, that normally is spent. The Chaturmasha is the period of rainy season in India, and when the sadhus do not, or the saintly person do not move from one place to another. As we know, the sannyasis they don't stay in one place for a long time. But in that case, they stayed in the house where the Narad Muni's mother was there, and Narad Muni's mother was serving them very nicely. And Narad, as a young boy, was able to serve them also, and he was so sincere in his attitude, and he served them so nicely that they were very pleased. And one day, even with their permission, he was able to take the remnants of the prasadam they take from the sadhus, and that has opened spiritual knowledge, and his spiritual knowledge naturally enhanced, and destroys all the misdeeds And once and after that, was reduced. And after that, another incident happened, that Narad Muni's mother died. And the Lord's but Narad Muni, although young at that age, some days I'm talking about, so young at this age, he considered it. Unlike the materialistic people, he did not curse the Lord. He told that it is an opportunity the Lord has given me. And so he left at that place and went out as a boy of 5 years only, he went out and search for the Lord. He went to he crossed the different forest, he crossed the rivers and lakes and all that. And in this way, he saw the creation of the Lord. And at one place, when he set for self-realization, he got the Lord's presence, and the Lord appeared before him, and he got that darshan, and in this way he was able to see the Lord in his lifetime, in his life as a Dashiputra. And after that, when he has lost his prison body, the next life he became the son of Brahma again. And as we have told, the creation, when the creation again takes place after annihilation of the planet, the various rishis that appear, along with that Narad Muni appears, but he appears with the transcendental body. And this transcendental body is completely free from material contamination. So he always chants the glories of the Lord, and whatever knowledge he has acquired is pure, is free from material contamination. So mundane, so Narad Muni has told that this mundane prosperity that we are trying to achieve in this material life is like a material fever. And when one gets the message of the Lord, or the Lord is merciful to his devotees, and one sincerely tries for advancement in spiritual life, the Lord helps him to do that through the devotees. And so the best way to advance in spiritual life and achieve success is to serve the devotees of the Lord, and also sincerely tries to, when one sincerely tries that, the Lord is present in our heart and he gives us the direction by which we can achieve it. And so in this regard, we'll try about the preaching things. And another, we have seen Narad Muni is a great transcendental preacher. And so the preacher in our material world also has to face a lot of difficulties, in the sense, because the preaching is not easy, because there are, Prabhupada has told, in the four pillars of ISKCON is, first was the books are the basis. That is a preacher should be tolerant, and a preacher should be tolerant, no doubt about that. But he should first know the contents of the Vedic knowledge. He must know what is there in the Vedic knowledge. He must know it himself first, and then he will preach. And then when he preaches it, then it becomes easy and smooth for him. He is able to preach it properly. And the other thing is, he must be tolerant and compassionate and peaceful. And because the situation is not very smooth for a preacher, and a preacher knows how extremely challenging. And we have, in our small experience, we have seen when we try to preach in the places, people are so much. There are different people with different temperaments, and we have to deal with it very patiently, because the purpose of preaching is to bring them in the fold of the Lord. If we, by our conduct and behavior, behaves in such a way that the person is satisfied, then he comes to hear from us. But if he does not hear, then the purpose of preaching is frustrated. So, and another important quality, and we have similarly in another cases we have seen that in case of Russia in particular, previously when Prabhupada was there, they have banned the preaching in their country. But even some of our devotees, they have even gone to jail to preach. So the preacher has to understand that he has taken a great service, and it is not easy for him. So preaching movement is coupled with risk at the same time, and preacher has to understand it. And another thing is that the preacher must preach. Before preaching, he must exactly follow what he is doing, because unless one preaches it properly, I mean, our Guru Maharaj, Sri Subhakshani Maharaj says, NISKCON is a preaching organization or a preaching movement. Before we preach to others, we should ask ourselves, am I following what I am preaching? So unless we conduct ourselves properly, and we do not if we do not conduct ourselves properly and just preach, then it will not be effective, and people will not respect us. But if we conduct ourselves properly, or we do what we are preaching, then it will be powerful as well. Because the purity is the force, Prabhupada has told. So ISKCON normally, in case of Haridas Thakur, he was chanting, and there is a discussion between Haridas Thakur and Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami has told Haridas Thakur that you are doing it both. Some people are there who behave well but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness. But there are others who preach but do not behave properly, as we have told. But in both the cases, they are incomplete. But you simultaneously perform duties, both you perform it and you preach it. So therefore, you are capable of becoming a guru or a preacher, proper preacher. So keeping in this view that the last Prabhupada has told that purity is the force. So if a purity of a preacher is his purity of a preacher is his conducting himself properly. And we have, as we know, in ISKCON we have to do 16 rounds of chanting every day. So if we do that and then we preach, then our preaching becomes powerful and effective. And in this way, we can keep the movements in a high standard Prabhupada has set for others. And in this way, the people who are were drowned in material enjoyment nowadays can become happy, and the purpose of ISKCON, for which Prabhupada has conducted the movement, will be successful, and it is our duty to see that that is maintained. Hare Krishna. So with that, I am concluding. If anyone has any other realization, any comments, or any other mistakes if I might have committed, if you can say, it would be, I'm happy to hear from all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for enlightening such a small text, but with the different interest in how Narad Muni's life sketch you described is so important to understand the Narad Muni's character here. So here you can see from the text, Narad Muni was a Gnostic Brahmachari, and you have chalked out his life history, how he became from a normal boy, or you can say from a Dashiputra to a spiritual body. That history really encourages us to understand. If you have ability to come up to the stage of spiritual enlightenment, it is possible. And that example shows us how Narad Muni passed his life and he became a spiritual body. And the other thing, as you mentioned, Narad Muni was a great preacher, and Prabhupada always encouraged in every preaching to follow Narad Muni's teaching, because that life sketch shows us the beauty of a preacher, the quality of a preacher, the understanding of a preacher. As you lastly mentioned, what should be the basic things of a preacher, because it's not an easy job. You need to be very much knowledgeable about your Shastra, must be very tolerant, compassionate, because if what you are doing, if you don't follow that, that means if you don't practice and you want to preach, it will never be a successful process. So that's why Prabhupada has given the first instance. First is the books are the basis and purity is the force. Once you are not purified, you cannot transmit the knowledge to others, because you have not followed the path what is mentioned in the Shastra. So it's very, very important for all of us to understand the Shastra, practice it, and then preach. That's why preaching is a process which is very, very difficult in some stages, which gives us so much trouble. Even if you see Prabhupada in Lilamrita, he has encountered so many odds and events in his preaching, but finally he achieved his goal. So we need to be very, very much tolerant and compassionate. Otherwise, preaching won't be a successful story for any of us. So it's very important to understand Narad Muni's life sketch in a right mood and then follow accordingly. Thank you so much for enlightening the life sketch of Narad Muni. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for the nice summarizing of the class. But anybody else wants to make a comment on that? Hare Krishna. So it appears there is no other person to make a comment. So we are closing the class. Bye.
Abhay Charan Prabhu ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.